Welcome everyone to today's workbook discussion on Zoom. Welcome also to all who join us later by watching or listening to this recording. I'm Laura Fenimore, the Chief Development Officer and Volunteer Coordinator with the Foundation for Inner Peace, the scribe authorized publisher of A Course in Miracles. We really appreciate your partnership with the Foundation. And if you want to learn more about the Foundation or A Course in Miracles, please visit acim.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit acim.org, and at the top of the page, you will find the word donate. All donations support the work of the Foundation. Each session will be delving into a discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, led by a moderator team of volunteers that work with the Foundation. What does discussion mean? In our gatherings here, we welcome the Holy Spirit to join us. Through this presence, our meeting becomes a joining of equals to commune with the Holy Spirit's guidance to experience miracles together. Some of the moderators here also support our social media channels, and if you'd like a list of FIP resources, please email support@acim.org, and we'll be happy to share the resource list with you. Now let's begin our discussion.
Thank you for playing that, Maggie. Welcome, everybody, to our weekly gathering of spirit, in spirit, and discussing the workbook lessons from A Course in Miracles. And if we could glance at the guidelines for our discussion today, that would be wonderful. It really is a space and a place that we gather to have this positive and safe discussion. We embrace kindness and respect. We focus our discussion on A Course in Miracles. We share openly and respectfully, and we always seek and behold the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Thank you so much, Maggie, once again. There's a quick and easy way that I use to center myself and really underscore for myself the essential teachings of the Course. And the way I do that is by uttering these two words, Namaste now. And let me explain what these two words mean to me, because this will also guide us into this presence and this beautiful space that we are starting to create together. So now, as we know, even according to the Course, is the only time there is. And so we are gathered here, we are gathered now. And Namaste, in its essential meaning, means that I, as spirit, bow to the spirit that I behold in you, and you, and you. So let's recognize the explicit presence of spirit in each other and experience the peace and the joy that underlie spirit. Welcome. I'm going to take a quick couple of minutes to reorient ourselves to the lessons that we have been studying together, and then we will start with lesson 91. Previously, we've been running through or understanding and discussing a review cycle. Lesson 90 was, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. And the problem is that of the fact that we think we are separated from our source, and knowing that that is not the case allows us to move directly to salvation. And the second part of the lesson was, let me recognize my problems have been solved. I need not wait for this to be resolved. The answer to this problem is already given me if I will accept it. Time cannot separate this problem from its solution. Time is of our own creation, and that's what we use to, in a sense, delude ourselves. So the lesson that we'll be discussing today is miracles are seen in light. And I'm going to stop sharing and come back to us. Miracles are seen in light. It's going to be, I think, very interesting and cool for us to discuss this concept. What are miracles and what does light mean? If we want to launch into a discussion right now, let's do that. What does light mean to us? How can miracles be seen in light? Go for it, Andrew. Thank you. And then Johanna right after that.
Thank you. I looked up the definition of light, and it is something that enables vision. So, but it also says in that lesson that the body's eyes cannot see this light that the Course is talking about. So I don't really know. I have a suspicion that the light that the Course is referring to is knowledge. But that's just a feeling of mine, that's all. I just wanted to say what light is defined as in the dictionary. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, it's clearly not the eyesight from our body. It's something deeper. So let's dive deeper into it and understand. Before I go to Stephanie and Uma, Johanna, was there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I couldn't find the hand button, so I did like that. I went like that. When I think of light in terms of the Course, I always think of clarity and understanding, and that comes really close to knowledge, right, Andrew? Although we cannot access knowledge while here, but clarity and understanding, those are things that we can achieve while here, focused here in the world. And the other thing I wanted to say about light is lesson 67 mentions a blazing light that we recognize that we are as God created us. God created us a blazing light. I don't know the exact paragraph by heart, but I know it's in 67. And that has stayed on my mind for several days now, that we are not bodies, we are not personalities, we are a blazing light. I just love it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's beautiful. If you or someone else can find the quote, please share that in chat, in the chat window. It also reminded me of the affirmation, I'm not a body, I'm free, or I am still as God created me. Stephanie, why don't you go next, please?
So it's perfect that I went after Johanna, because what I was thinking is clarity, the oneness of clarity and love, to me, is light.
Clarity of oneness and love. Beautiful. That can all, all of these beautiful words that you're uttering can seep into our soul. Anything more, Stephanie?
Not right now, thanks.
Thank you. Uma, you go next, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm taking notes. I appreciate. I will not separate this problem from its solution. That's always good to remember. Now, I've had a number of light experiences. Once a whole bunch of them. One hair turned white for 48 hours, and I was moved. I could still operate in physical reality, but I was actually grabbing at the air and saying, "Can't you see it? It's right here." Now, the second time it happened, another 48 hours, it was clear light, but it was clearly light. But I couldn't see like the white that I saw. It was just clarity. And I also practice seeing light on purpose from some exercises I got. Whenever I actually do it, I just smile. Automatically, I'm pressing forward a vision of, I just smile. It just feels so good. But light is clarity. And yeah, thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, Uma. Before you mute yourself, so again, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask you to, are you able to read the screen that I'm sharing?
Lesson 91, miracles are seen in light.
Yes, if you would read us the first paragraph, please.
It is important to remember that miracles and vision necessarily go together. This needs repeating and frequent repeating. It is a idea in your new thought system and the perception that produces it. The miracle is always there. Its presence is not caused by your vision. Its absence is not the result of your failure to see. It is only your awareness of miracles that is affected. You will see them in the light and you will not see them in the dark.
Wonderful, wonderful. If there's anything else you'd like to add to that after reading it, please go ahead.
Well, other experiences I've had, which I didn't define as light experiences, I just remember hugging people whose personalities I just don't like. But I was so in love with everything. I was just a bit, it was so joyous. It was another like 2-day experience that overcame me. It was, we were discussing grace yesterday in the other group. It was gracious, light experiences. Yeah. There was another one way early in the 80s when I looked up and the colors were brighter. It's just like everything became clear. People have mentioned this. I think people have this experience. Like suddenly their beingness is so clear. Everything's bright. There's no thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Mia, you go next, please, and then Maggie after you.
So miracles are seen in light when Holy Spirit is the perception that you see through. Miracles are seen in light and they're always there. Ego is the dark. And I have a funny little anecdote to share about this experience from today. I sat down and said, oh, I have to go over my lesson today before I meet with groups today. And I opened up my email and I go, oh, look, Pinterest, all the pretty. What are you doing? And I was shocked. And I was like, what am I doing? It was like, Holy Spirit spoke to me. What are you doing? And I was like, what am I doing? And I stopped in that moment. I said, I'm looking at all the pretty colors and all the things that are distracting me. It's like, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm supposed to be focusing on the lesson. It's like, yes, because you have already said to yourself that the next time that you get distracted by things that you've already labeled meaningless, because there's no way you're going to do them. There's no way that you need them. There's no happiness in that. It's just a distraction. that you would ask for help. It would already be there to tell you, to guide you back to your function. And I was like, yes. And that is what I call the miracle, or I experience as the miracle.
Thank you, Mia. As we know, the course is a course in the training of our minds. And so you gave a great example of what that means. We are also reminded that we are the master of our own mind. And so we need to essentially, ideally, be aware of all our thoughts as they occur so that we can be clear about what our function is and choose appropriately. Maggie, please go next.
Thank you, Manu. Gosh, I was just listening to you, and one of the recent lessons, if you follow with the calendar, is I rule my mind, which I alone must rule. And while I was just listening to you, responding to Mia there, that was exactly what came into my mind. But I actually raised my hand because Bill is asking you a question in the chat. And I thought I would just bring it right into the group so you can just listen right now. Because you mentioned when answering the question about what does light mean in the course, and you mentioned that for you, you've used the word clarity, and that's close to knowledge, but that's something that we can't experience in the body. Bill said, Johanna, sister, can you advise where it mentioned in the course where it says we're not able to have or understand knowledge in a body? And I did already, I let him know I was going to raise my hand and let you know he's asking. And then I also just linked to the clarification of terms section on true perception and knowledge, if anyone wants to look at that. But also, Johanna, if you want to respond at all, I just opened that up for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie, for reading that. I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't see it. I'm having trouble getting all the squares on my screen. And then when I do, I don't see the bar underneath. Anyway, I'm glad Maggie read it and that she referred to the manual for teachers, right? The clarification of terms. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. You know, it's the clarification says it all.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so
Thanks, Maggie.
Johanna, Bill, sorry, were you going to say more other than thank you?
No, I just wanted to know where that to read it for sure, because I'll hold on to that, because I thought I could gain knowledge, but the only knowledge that I could gain is that God is love. But if I really understood that, that would be the knowledge, and that's all I kind of thought knowledge was. But I can't wait to read. I'm sure I've heard it before, but thanks.
Yeah, I suppose that in the course it deals with understanding, with learning and understanding, and so that can change. Learning and understanding can change, and so maybe those words is what you're meaning. I suppose in the world you could say knowledge, perfectly fine, but if you're talking in a course context, knowledge means something different.
Yeah, and I gotta learn.
Yeah, you gotta learn. Okay.
Okay, wonderful. So, Johanna, I'm going to invite you, please, to read us the second paragraph in this lesson that states miracles are seen in light.
Thank you. 2. To you then, light is crucial. While you remain in darkness, the miracle remains unseen. Thus you are convinced it's not there. This follows from the premises from which the darkness comes. Denial of light leads to failure to perceive it. Failure to perceive light is to perceive darkness. The light is useless to you then, even though it is there. You cannot use it because its presence is unknown to you. And the seeming reality of the darkness makes the idea of light meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I suppose that's the predicament most of us are in, huh? And we're doing it to ourselves. We're doing it to ourselves. That's what the Course says. You are doing this to yourself. And so it's up to us to allow it to be undone. And we do that by relying on the Holy Spirit. And I come back to what you just said, Manu. Each and every thought needs to be brought to the Holy Spirit, minute by minute, 24/7. That's all I have.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Doreen, please go ahead.
Yeah. What came to mind while I heard you all talking about what is the light and how can we define it, I had to think about light is what the Holy Spirit experiences and what the Holy Spirit sees. That is light, and that is definitely different from what we as an ego person experience and see, and of course also hear. So that's my contribution to the question, what is light?
Thank you. Thank you. That's a beautiful perspective. Mia, you go next, and then Stephanie.
I would like to read this in the way that I had originally defined light and darkness, and it actually is quite interesting if it's read this way. To you, then, the Holy Spirit is crucial. While you remain in the ego, the miracle remains unseen. Thus, you are convinced it is not there. This follows from the premise from which the ego comes. Denial of the Holy Spirit leads to failure to perceive it. Failure to perceive the Holy Spirit is to perceive the ego. The Holy Spirit is useless to you then, even though it is there. You cannot use it because its presence is unknown to you, and the seemingly reality of the ego makes the idea of the Holy Spirit meaningless.
That's wonderful. That is such an amazing interpretation of that last paragraph, Mia, and totally makes sense, of course. Thank you. Stephanie.
I think one of the great gifts of A Course in Miracles is the humility that is logical to have, because when we, I guess I could use the word understanding, when we understand that we don't see everything. So something could be there and we don't see it, but because of our histories before we studied A Course in Miracles, I think we have to assume that we know and that we see what's accurate. But to know, to be aware that we are limited in our perception is a great gift, I think, because it's very hopeful. And then, of course, as we study and we see more, then we're like, yes, I didn't see that before. Now I see that. So I just think it's such an incredible explanation of helping us to comprehend what's not there, how we don't see it, but it could still be there anyway. And I don't know if I'm being clear, but anyway, that was some of my thought.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, what I got from what you shared is that we are slowly blossoming into the light, and therefore becoming more aware of the miracle that's ever present. That was my interpretation. Megan, you go next, please.
Great conversation. I just wanted to go back to the first question. What does it mean by the miracles are seen in light? What is light? And the more I read, the more I see it. I feel that it's a human thing. It's in the illusion that we need to give it a definition, because otherwise we have no way of looking at it. So referring to it as light and miracles and vision. Miracles and vision are necessary to go together to see the light. And in the human capacity, darkness means that you're fumbling around. You don't know where you're going or what's going on. So for me, darkness is the absence of the ability to know where you are, to guide yourself in any way. And light would be, of course, you still don't know where you are, but you're allowing God to guide you through his guidance, through his eyes, with vision, through what he sees and his perception, and then of course experiencing miracles because now you're open to seeing the light. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think just going back to what Doreen first mentioned and then Mia developed by reading the second paragraph again, light equals the Holy Spirit and darkness is our ego. That's a good bit of guidance for us to keep in mind. Rich?
All right, paragraphs 1 and 2 here. I'm looking at. I mean, it's a course in miracles. I mean, everybody has different beliefs about the historical Jesus, and they really do vary widely. However, for me, you know, Gautama Siddhartha and others, they've achieved this state of mind. Truly is different from the average person. You know, it's like real phenomenal tranquility, joy, no doubt, fear, remorse, anxiety, confusion, guilt, etc., etc. It's a completely different state of mind. Zero resentment, zero confusion, angers, nothing but the correct beliefs in terms of the will of God, thoughts, actions, everything. Like really living that way. So, you know, and in that type of living that way, actual physical miracles can happen if they're the will of God. If they're the will of God, I mean, you know, there's plenty of ways to talk about all these ideas, but you know, so Jesus himself, you know, is did actual miracles in my belief system. Everybody varies on these points, but you know, he raised Lazarus from the dead. He did other things. So, you know, it's just that for me, this is a real roadmap to be Jesus-like in that sense. Every human being alive should be Jesus-like in that sense of phenomenal vitality, exuberance, strength, goodness, nothing opposing that ever, not the least little bit of anger, resentment, et cetera, not the least little bit, like for real. So, you know, this is a roadmap to how to achieve that way of living. You know, every human being alive will eventually get to that way of living is the idea to me. So, you know, the book talks about its subjects in different ways throughout. You know, here we got miracles and light are being combined up, you know, in terms of, you know, like 2:6. Failure to perceive light is to perceive darkness. I mean, for me, in ACIM ideas, that's simply if I'm not living this phenomenal, enlightened, Jesus-like way of living, then I am in my ego to whatever degree in terms of the negative ego emotions, the negative things that happen, feelings of guilt, whatever. I'm living in that type of darkness. So you're either in one or the other. If you're 100% in the Jesus-like mentality, it's nothing but light. And as far as that goes, as far as that idea goes, and you know, say here, and I mean, and the book talks a lot about this super duper enlightened Jesus-like state of mind is unknown to you. I mean, the book talks about that in different ways throughout. So, you know, still for me, you know, the goal is real, actual enlightenment that some people have actually achieved on this earth plane.
Thank you, Rich. I am in full agreement with your statements personally as well, in terms of, you know, the historical Jesus. And one way that certain people talk about this level of perception, or maybe a better word is consciousness, is Christ consciousness. That's, you know, I'll just leave it at that. Doreen?
What also came to mind is that light is experiencing ourselves as we are known in heaven, which is as the Christ. Every time we experiencing who we truly are, that is light. And that is also how we are known in heaven.
Thank you. Beautiful. Jeanette?
Jeanette, you're muted.
Yeah, she's trying to unmute.
There.
There.
Thank you. How I see it a little bit differently, but I respect everyone's opinions and I'm happy to hear them. I see miracles as forgiveness and the ability to forgive others and to forgive ourselves. And we can't see that. Oftentimes, life happens so quickly in front of us. And before we know it, things are sort of exploding a little bit. But in order to find that forgiveness, the miracle is because, of course, it's the ego, and we're in our bodies, and we need to go back to the thought of who we are, and then go to the decision maker and choose the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit to me is the light. And when you can communicate, however you do it, with the Holy Spirit, He will show you, and Jesus, of course. It's in our thought. It's not actually in the body, but we're able to forgive, and we can forgive others, and then we can also look at forgiving ourselves. And that's just how I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeanette, you're also correct, and if there were levels, I would say you are more correct, because according to A Course in Miracles, that is essentially what miracles are. That's our function, to forgive. And when we read all the text and all the lessons, etc., one realizes that light, miracles, forgiveness, love, all of those things are really the same thing. And so that's what and salvation and all of that. It's just, using different words to express the same idea. Thank you so much, Mia.
Yeah, so I just Googled, what does A Course in Miracles say a miracle is? And it's like the awareness of love's presence. And I thought, well, that's kind of what this whole course is about. It's about, how do I go from the darkness of identifying everything through the ego's presence and going to Holy Spirit and seeing everything as light. The life changes. It definitely does. And it can happen in an instant. And when those instants are something that comes to the awareness in many of the moments and then all of the moments, I think that's where the forgiveness is unlimited, because there's no flip-flopping back to the darkness. That's where the salvation is accepted. That's where the laws of God are followed, and anything else just falls away. And so then life becomes the miracle of being in love's presence continuously. Is that Christ consciousness? Is my question to you.
Oh, I didn't see that as a question. I saw that as a beautiful statement of truth and love. And if there was a question in it, you'll have to ask it again, at least for me to respond.
Well, I feel like that's what Christ consciousness is that
Okay, got it.
seeing it best through that.
Yep. Understood. Okay, yeah. Nothing more to add. I think you're spot on. And as you were talking about God's love and God's presence, it also suggested to me that it's also the will of God that which then becomes apparent to us is also our deepest will. And that's where we are joined together as a sonship with all that is. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Really loved that, Mia. Doreen?
Yep. Janet, I really liked that you put the attention on forgiveness. What came to mind is light is forgiveness, and the heart of forgiveness is not being negatively affected by anything that happens around you, or basically what happens around you or anything in your life at all. That is light summed up. If we can stay loving under all circumstances and not be affected anymore by anything, that is the most brilliant light, and that is forgiveness. So thank you for pointing that out, Janet. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is also our essential future, but also it's happening right now. I think we are all open in love, forgiving, accepting, smiling. And so we are in that space right now, Doreen, aren't we?
Yes, we can experience that every moment. That's true. But I think it's also true that the light becomes gradually, mostly with us, gradually brighter. That's my understanding. So when we look back a year from now, I hope we all can say the light I see is so much more brighter than the year before.
Yeah, I love the word you used earlier as well. Brilliant. Yep.
Brilliant.
And obviously that relates to the word light itself. Thank you, Marguerite.
It's a really beautiful question, because as we are all considering the answer, it feels like we're all drawn to get quiet, because we need to really do inquiry. So that's a brilliant question to ask. So thank you for that. I'm definitely getting more and more still in my mind. And I just wanted to say that for me, when you say light, it's like a while ago, I started seeing light around things. And that was like my first step of noticing that what I thought was so solid and was actually what I thought was a fact actually isn't a fact, and it's not solid. And now I have these moments where the whole view of what I'm looking at becomes like one picture. So there's no fragment in it anymore. And then it feels like I'm looking with the eyes of light, because it's abstract. It's there's no division. And I don't remember who shared it. I think it was Jeanette or something. It can just happen any moment. There's a readiness, there's a willingness, and it can be, while the body is like my last experience, I remember the body was just unloading the dishwasher. And I saw all these flies because it's warm here in Holland now. And all of a sudden, these flies were like not separate from everything else that I was looking at. So they weren't my enemy. I wasn't judging them. I wasn't trying to kill them. They weren't, it just, everything just became one view. I don't know how else to say it. I guess it's that moment where you wake up and you realize that you're the dreamer of the dream, but you're also not in the dream. And yeah, that's kind of like what I'm reliving right now as I share it. So thank you.
Oh, that's a beautiful sharing of your experience. I think we were there with you as you expressed it so beautifully. Thank you so much. Megan?
Yeah, thank you, Margaret. I recently went through an experience where I was physically taxed to a level where I hadn't been in a long time, and urgent things needed my attention. And I was realizing while we're reading this that part of me was in darkness and was uh, thinking about reacting, and then part of me was focused on not reacting and seeing that the miracle was there, that the light was there. And when I'm just at home, I can easily do these things because I'm not physically taxed to the point where I'm distracted by actual events that are happening. Like there's not a fire in front of me that needs to be put out. But when I experienced this, I did realize that I was experiencing a sort of dichotomy of you can go with God or you can stay and find things to be upset about and blame. And I realized the urgent nature of what I was doing and how physically taxed I was. I was praying, but I was also thanking God that I had the course, because while I can remember back years when I would have broken down and I would have just would have been an absolute mess. But what was going on was that I have been in the course doing the coursework so much that I realized that every moment that I was making a choice, and I like where in paragraph 8 it says, "I'm not weak but strong." So I am not helpless but all powerful. I am not limited but unlimited. I am not doubtful but certain. I'm not an illusion but a reality I cannot see in darkness but in light. And I think part of me was reminding myself that I had abilities far beyond what I thought I did, and that was helping me. As I keep telling my mom and my family, I say God has more tools than I have, more contacts, and knows way better about how much ability I have, and I am just not aware of it. I just need to trust. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. As I was glancing through the lesson earlier, Megan, I noticed those beautiful affirmations. And I think as we draw closer to the top of the hour, and let's close when we do by repeating some of those beautiful words. So, Rich, you go next.
I'm just looking things up. I mean, certainly good topics, and miracles in terms of relating it to forgiveness is always good. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles, you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. For me, to forgive, I mean, one of the better definitions, everybody again has their own thoughts about how ACIM is using the word versus ideas about it, but hey, that forgive, feeling or forgive. feeling or expressing bitterness or indignation at having been treated in a manner that is not in accordance with the principles of equality and justice. So, so like the book says, God's will is never a sacrifice. We're living God's will in terms of whatever that is, moment to moment, thought, word, and action, brings what real joy, real peace are, and anything else, and everything has to be about God's will. So if I'm feeling bitterness or indignation and having been treated in a manner that is not in accordance with my ego's ideas of equality and justice, that's what forgiveness is about. I need to forgive, whether it's myself or others. Along those lines, it does say forgiveness is only has functional meaning in time. So once we've truly achieved forgiveness, then there is that breakthrough to real joy, real peace, real Jesus-like God consciousness would be one idea about it to me that I would say, and then also, everything is about mastery through love. So, it's not about anything else. It's about emphasize. So the sentence in the book emphasized that the only real mastery is through love. So again, what I really need to develop is an intense feeling of deep affection, with fondness and liking for real, every moment, with everyone in every way, moment to moment, being gentle, mild, kind, and tender in temperament and character. This is what love actually is. And that's what has to be grown and developed moment to moment, in every moment. Then I have that Jesus-like love and peace and joy.
That is true, Rich. And the way we get there, according to the Course, is through forgiveness, which, as you alluded to, it does have a different meaning in A Course in Miracles. And it's been stated many different ways as well as to what forgiveness is. And one way is, what I thought my brother did not actually happen. Or what I thought I did also did not occur. Johanna?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Manu, for adding that on. When I was listening to you, Rich, I couldn't agree more. The only thing is, I can't do those things. I cannot be perfectly loving and perfectly joyful and I can't. And so if that's the bar I have to reach, I fail. So I just thought I'd let you know that I can't do it.
Yeah, which is why we need a helper. And we just need to, as the Course says, be a little willing, and then allow the Holy Spirit to guide us and to help us get there as we forgive anything and everything and everyone that we appear to experience. And so that removes the blinders to love. And then we have no choice but to experience the love and joy that might only last for a few moments here and there, but that eventually becomes a persistent reality. So,
yeah.
Johanna, anything more to add? Otherwise, we go to Doreen.
No, go ahead, go to Doreen.
Okay.
Yeah, Joanna, I can join you in what you said. But kindness goes a long way. And I think kindness is incredibly important. And true kindness is light. And what also came to mind is that Ken Wapnick wrote 2 books about the importance of kindness. And this also came to mind because of what Rich just shared with us. It's all about being kind. And that's already a very good start, and train ourselves in being kind under all circumstances. That will bring us far.
Yes, yes. And like Joseph said, God fails at nothing. We are God's eternal effects, and so therefore we can also we shall also not fail at salvation. Uh,
Mm.
Given the amount of time we have, I would ask the following people. There's four hands raised. You have a minute apiece if you'd like to take that on. Mia?
Hi. So what Joanna said is actually the next two paragraphs of this lesson. Paragraph 3 is all about ego resistance and my interpretation of it. And paragraph 4 is all about Holy Spirit support and that you don't have to have the strength in yourself to do this. You just have to ask, and that will be there for you.
Mm.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. We will read those next time and remind ourselves where we were this week. Thank you so much. Stephanie.
I love the discussion between Rich and then Johanna's response. And I just thought it was very helpful. And then when Doreen spoke about kindness, I want to say it leaves me with a question. What is the difference between love and kindness? Can we be kind even when we don't feel the love in our heart? But I'm going to think about it, but it was just such a good discussion for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. From my perspective, it goes back to what miracle, love, light, salvation, God, all of that, all the qualities of godliness. What is godliness is, I think, what we're talking about. So you're right in what you're suggesting. Uma.
So I pulled into the little shopping center to go to the bakery, and there's a fellow sitting on the curb. He'd clearly been outside a long time. A long black sleeve, no shirt, black, dirty, short little dreads, red eyes. And I parked over there. So I didn't, and I actually walked toward him to go to the bakery. And he turned toward me. And like I said, he had no shirt, very dark, radiant. The light that came out of this dude's chest was ridiculous. I mean, this
Wow.
light, he just turned his torso toward me and kind of looked a little up, and I walked toward him. I said, "What do you need?" He said, "Coffee." But it was such an interaction with Christ. And then when I gave him his coffee, he's sitting there smoking something and has a bunch of cigarillos, and but he was so in himself, being his God self, and the way it's just beautiful. It's just exquisite. I wanted to share that.
Behold the Christ. That's beautiful, Uma.
Yeah.
Megan,
And
thank you. Megan, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, so thank you, Johanna. I think for me, I've realized that trying to go to a bar of these beautiful levels of kindness and stuff, when I, instead of actually thinking them as where I want to go, I in all humility say, God, please help me be this way through your guidance, because I definitely cannot do it alone. So I'm with you. It's hopelessly failing, but failing up. I'm failing up towards God. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. Let me say some of the words that we said we would. Just before we do the affirmations, the lesson says for the longer practice periods, start with this statement: miracles are seen in light. The body's eyes do not perceive the light. But I'm not a body. What am I? I am not weak, but strong. I'm not helpless, but all powerful. I'm not limited, but unlimited. I'm not doubtful, but certain. I'm not an illusion, but a reality. I cannot see in darkness, but in light. That's what we are, you and I, our core essence. The light, the brightness, the brilliance in me bows to the brilliance in you. Thank you.